In today's edition of NHL Trade Talk, we're discussing the New York Rangers. We just had breaking news that Rangers defenseman Kevin Shattenkirk will be out indefinitely with a torn meniscus. We wanted to discuss how this will impact the team's plans as we head towards the trade deadline. And that's coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. On this channel, we review and discuss all 31 NHL teams with an unbiased opinion. So if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. Alright, so as we mentioned in the opener, Rangers defenseman Kevin Shattenkirk will be out long term. They've announced he's going to be out indefinitely with a torn meniscus. Obviously, this is going to be a big blow to the Rangers, who currently sit in a wild card spot with only a small cushion. They've got teams like the Flyers and the Islanders chasing them down, looking for that wild card spot. So with this another major injury to this Rangers team, who's already without Chris Kreider long term as well, I wanted to discuss with you how this is going to impact the team for the rest of the year and how it'll impact their plans as we head towards the trade deadline. Obviously, throughout this season, there's been lots of Rangers trade rumors floating around. Obviously, we've seen some names come and go. The Rangers got off to a real bad start, which is kind of what fueled it all. After their poor start, though, they've certainly rebounded very nicely and have kind of settled into a much better brand of hockey and currently sit in a playoff spot. Early in the season, there was links between the Habs and the Rangers of pulling off maybe a franchise-altering deal on both sides with some significant players being involved. Obviously, after things kind of turned around for the Rangers, those rumors haven't been persisting quite as much. Although there's still lots of things up in the air with how the Rangers are going to be at the deadline. Will they be buyers? Will they be sellers? A lot of things are yet to be defined. In the next probably 2, 3, 4 weeks of hockey here, as we approach the deadline, will certainly dictate how a lot of that goes. Obviously, with the Rangers being in a wild card spot, at this point in time, you wouldn't expect them to be sellers. Obviously, any team that can get in the playoffs, they're usually going to be looking in a position to either maintain or acquire to kind of see what kind of playoff push they can end up getting. Obviously, any playoff experience is good, brings in extra revenue for the team, and we've seen many teams squeak in as a wild card and win the Stanley Cup. So it doesn't mean anything about seeding. The fact that you're in the playoffs, you want to go for it. So obviously, they have some key injuries now that they've already been dealing with, and now we've got another name to add to that list. You've got Chris Kreider out long-term, issues with blood clotting, and he had surgery. Now you got Kevin Shattenkirk out. Obviously, that's a big forward, a big defenseman. They got pending UFAs that they need to decide how to proceed there. Obviously, some of these UFAs are more significant than others, and really there's a big debate on which ones will be back next season, if any, and doesn't make sense to sell them off regardless. There's difference of opinions out there. Some fans seem to think that, well, you know what, you're in a playoff spot, you don't sell off anything, you either maintain or acquire to try to make a big run, and I can certainly see the argument for that. And then there's other fans who seem to think differently, that regardless of where you sit, you shouldn't kid yourself. You're not a Stanley Cup contender. You might as well get back some assets for what you can if you have no intentions of bringing these players back next season. Why just let them walk in the summer with no return asset? I mean, you've got Rick Nash, who's coming off a long-term deal. Obviously, his next contract, he more than likely is going to be making less money. You know, he's a lot older. He can still be a useful player. Still tends to be a streaky scorer at times. He's on a little bit of a pretty good run right now, but it's hard to say how long that's gonna go. He's still a pretty good skater, and he can certainly still serve a role in the NHL. So he's certainly going to keep playing, but at what price and for what team? Hard to say. There's a lot of debate on whether he'll be back in New York, and if he does go back to the Rangers, it's more likely going to have to be for less money than he's getting paid today. I mean, you've also got a guy like Michael Grabner, who's put up a lot of goals for this team since they've acquired him. Grabner, it's kind of funny, he's been a fairly consistent goal scorer in his career, but yet seems to bounce around a lot every couple of years from team to team, and I'm sure he's going to be looking for some longer term stability. You know, he's on another 20-plus goal season. He doesn't get up a lot of assists, but he certainly scores a lot of goals. He serves a very good role in this team. The guy's a breakaway machine. He can skate like the wind, and there's certainly, you know, I think the Rangers probably should try to hang on to him. You know, there's also been a lot of other speculation on with this franchise-altering move that could go down, as earlier discussed in the season with the Montreal Canadiens, that they were even looking at guys like Matt Zuccarello and even Ryan McDonough, the captain on defense. I mean, these are guys that mean a lot to this team. So if they're going to be looking to make a big deal, what would the return be? And the speculation was that they were trying to pry Max Pacioretty out of Montreal. Obviously, Pacioretty is a U.S.-born player. Grew up, I believe, in Connecticut, which isn't far from New York. For him, that's probably the closest as he's going to get to playing at home. Would he like it in New York? Very well could. Depending on how the Rangers roster stacks up, Pacioretty could very well be their top winger. And what would the return be? Like, there was some speculation, I know we talked about here in another video, that it could be Ryan McDonagh coming back the other way. Obviously, the Habs really need help on defense, but they certainly have issues scoring as well. So, that's why there was such speculation. It could be such a big, significant deal that there could be multiple players going back and forth. Pacioretty, I think, would be the key piece coming from Montreal to New York. McDonagh probably would be the centerpiece coming back the other way. But, who else would be involved? I'm not really sure, but there were certainly a lot of rumors persisting, and those rumors are starting to kind of come up again. The hockey insiders, they basically seem to think that the Rangers aren't really sure if they're going to be buyers or sellers, but they certainly at this point will at least listen, and they would consider just about anything, especially even on players like Zuccarello and McDonagh. Doesn't mean they're shopping them, but I think any team, especially the position they're in, would be willing to listen, see what's out there, and if the deal is right, to certainly look at making the deal. So with Shattenkirk being out long-term and Kreider being out long-term, do you think the Rangers legitimately have a good shot at maintaining their playoff spot? And if they can get into the playoffs, do they have any chance of advancing past the first round? They've got a lot of pending UFAs that could be sold off for assets. They know that, plus there's the potential they could kind of be a buyer here and bring in a guy like Pacioretty. Although you could argue that obviously Pacioretty coming in, they're going to make that would be a big acquisition, but they'd end up giving up a lot as well, with probably McDonagh going the other way. But as a Rangers fan, does a Shattenkirk injury change how this team proceeds here as we approach the trade deadline? Do they become sellers, get what they can back for their UFAs, maybe look at making some bigger moves in the offseason and retooling for next year? Or do they keep what they have and try to acquire and move forth for the playoffs? Obviously, there's a lot of questions to be answered in New York, and I want your opinion as a Rangers fan or a hockey fan, what you think they should do. So leave some comments down below. How do the Rangers proceed, and how does this Shattenkirk injury affect their plans as we approach the deadline? Don't forget as well to follow us on social media. You'll see our Twitter handle right here. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. All of our links for our social media accounts are in the description below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Again, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. We talk hockey here every day, and we like to have lots more hockey conversations with our viewers. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. We'll catch you next time.